What's up? What's going on? Welcome back to the channel, and I got a special one for y'all. I know y'all feeling that intro. We are talking about the Cervelo S5, right? Now, I've been getting a lot of questions about this bike. It's been freaking insane, right? And there's some questions that I want to answer, some specific ones, and there's 4 of them, right? And hey, real quick, if you are liking the content, please consider subscribing to the channel. The channel is going crazy. We are almost at 5,000 subscribers. I really appreciate it, right? But these are the 4 questions I'm going to answer for about this Cervelo S5. How much does it weigh? What is it like to ride? Is it faster than the Factor Ostro VAM? And would I trade it for another bike? And that other bike is something specific, but I'm not going to tell you what that bike is until I get to that question, right? Now, you're probably asking, how did I come up with these questions? I didn't. These are questions that you all have been asking me in the comments and all kind of stuff, right? And I want to let you know right now, if you are leaving comments and engaging with me on the channel, I see everything, man. I see everything. I really appreciate it, and I do acknowledge it. At the very minimum, you'll get a hashtag RobbArmstrong that just lets you know I at least seen the comment, right? Now, there are times when I get comments and I'm kind of like going back and forth with people. And when I say going back and forth, not in a negative instance, because I don't do that on YouTube, right? But going back and forth, just like having some interesting, engaging dialogue, right? There are times when it's like, it's just too much to type or it's too much to explain, and then I end up making a video about it. So if you have something that you want to ask and then it requires a thorough explanation or just something I can give you some more feedback on, ask the question, because it might lead to me making a video like this. Now, these specific 4 questions, this isn't from one person. It was just from 4 different people. And what happened was I had my Cervelo S5 for, I don't know, maybe like 6 months or so now. But I just started posting some more stuff about it, and it's just been blowing up. People have been asking all kind of questions. So I'm going to address those questions and answer them for you, right? So like I said, the first question, how much does a Cervelo S5 weigh? My Cervelo S5 weighs 17.61 pounds, right? Now, and that's my configuration. My configuration is my Cervelo S5 is a size 51. I have a dual-sided Ultegra power meter on there. I'm running TRP rotors. It's got 12-speed Ultegra Di2. I'm running a DT Swiss ARC 1100s, 62 in depth. I'm rolling tubeless. I'm rolling the MVSES tires. I'm running a 31 up front, and I'm running a 29 out back. And the reason for the offset tires is just for frame clearance, because I got an older Cervelo S5 and it doesn't have as much clearance as the newer ones. But that's how much the bike weighs, 17.61 pounds. Now, regarding weight, how do I feel about that? I would say for a full-on, full gas aero bike, 17 and a half pounds or so, I think that's pretty good. And I would say, I think 17 pounds is a decent weight for any bike, to be honest with you, because the majority of bikes that I have or have owned, they're usually be around like the high 17, 18, 19 pounds. So for the Cervelo S5 to come in at that 17 and a half so mark, I was really happy about that. And to put some of that weight into perspective, as a comparison to other bikes I have, like my Allay, my Bianchi, and my Madone, all those bikes weigh 18 pounds and some change, right? Now, the Factor Ostro VAM, that bike weighs like 15 and some change, right? So the Cervelo S5 is 2 pounds heavier than the Factor Ostro VAM, but it's like a pound or so lighter than the Madone, the LA, my old Amanda, the Bianchi, all of that. So I'm really happy with that. Now, you know what? I'll say that because that's part of the next question, right? The next question is, what is it like to ride the Cervelo S5, right? And like I said, to give you some context and some perspective, the current bikes I have right now, I have a Lay Sprint, I have the Amonda SO5, I have a Bianchi XR3, I have the Factor Ostro VAM. I gotta look because I'd be forgetting. And I think that's it. And I got the Trek Madone. Almost forgot about the Trek Madone. Right? When I hear people talking about a Cervelo S5, they say, the bike is super harsh, it's unforgiving, it's just a race bike, it's not comfortable. I wouldn't ride it for a long distance. I don't feel that, man. The Cervelo S5 is not an uncomfortable bike. It feels good to me, right? Now, when these people are saying this, I think some of that depends on how they have the bike set up. So for one, the DT Swiss Arc 1100 62s, it's a decent wheel. I like that wheel. The Arc 1100, I think it's the top tier wheel, and it's a fairly comfortable wheel. And I've rode that wheel on my LA. I rode it on the Madone, just the LA and the Madone, and I was very surprised how that wheel feels and how it handles in the crosswinds and all that, especially being 62 in depth, right? And I have my bike set up tubeless, right? Tubeless for life, bro. Tubeless for life. I'd have been down the butyl tubes, the latex, the TPUs. Nothing rides like tubeless, bro. If you're not riding tubeless, you're just doing yourself a disservice, man. Like TPU is cool, but it's not tubeless, man. It's not tubeless. It's like it's not slower than anything, but as far as comfort, if you are not riding a tubeless wheel, you're just missing out on comfort, bro. You're just missing out on comfort. That's just my opinion. I everything I have is tubeless. The only thing I don't have tubeless is my TT bike, and that's because my wheel set does not allow for me to set it up tubeless, right? So rolling the tubeless wheel set with the Cervelo, and like I said, my rear tire is a 29 and my front tire is a 31. The bike is super comfortable, man, and I'm rolling like 55 psi or whatever. I don't have no issues with the bike being uncomfortable or I feel like it's so unforgiving that I couldn't ride it for distance, right? And when I say distance, when I get on the bike, I like to ride maybe 30, 40 miles, and I'm fine with that. I don't think about it. The next day when I'm off the bike, it's not like my shoulders and all this stuff is tight. I don't feel like that. Now, also talking about riding a Cervelo in general, the Cervelo S5 is the stiffest road bike I have ever ridden, and it's not even close. It's not even close. The Cervelo S5 is very, very stiff. The only other bike that I've ridden that is stiffer than a Cervelo S5 is my time trial bike. And my time trial bike is a Fuji Norcom straight. And I absolutely love that bike. I done bought that bike 3 different times. I really like that bike. The Fuji Norcom straight is an excellent bike. Now, when you were looking at the Fuji Norcom straight and looking at the Cervelo S5 and you look at the rear of the bike, the way those seat stays and everything connects is very similar in the way the seat tube kind of curves around the rear tire. I really think that has something to do with the stiffness, right? Because you'll have some people that talk about like the bottom bracket area and how much carbon is around there. I've ridden bikes that had a lot of carbon down there and it's not super stiff. And I've ridden bikes that don't have a lot of material down there and they are stiff. So just how much material is around the bottom bracket, I'm not going to necessarily say that's going to make the bike more or less stiff. You kind of just got to ride it and get a feel for it for yourself. But a Cervelo S5 is the stiffest bike that I have ever ridden. And also the Cervelo S5, it's my favorite bike to climb on, right? It's not my best climbing bike, but it's because it's how stiff the bike is. Whenever I'm going up a hill, man, I just feel like every time I pedal that bike, I'm getting everything out the bike. That's how stiff it is. It's crazy stiff, bro. The Cervelo S5 is the stiffest bike that I've ever ridden. If you like a super stiff bike, then the Cervelo S5, it might do it for you. And then also, it has that V-shaped stem in the front. I think that kind of triangle pattern that really helps with the stiffness in the front of the bike because the front end of that bike is very stiff as well. The Cervelo S5 is, if I had to describe that bike, I'd say stiff. It's a stiff bike. Absolutely love the stiffness of that bike. Next question. Is the Cervelo S5 faster than the Factor Ostro VAM? That is an excellent question. Now, just to jump right to it, I don't think so. I don't think the Cervelo S5 is faster, and I don't think it's slower. In my opinion, and I'll say this too, from the bikes that I've ridden and the bikes that I currently own, the Cervelo S5 is not the fastest bike that I have. If somebody was looking at the Factor Ostro VAM and they were looking at the Cervelo S5 and they said the one specific thing they need is top speed, I would say either bike will do the same thing. That's to me. When I'm riding a Factor, I don't feel like I'm riding faster than the Cervelo S5. When I'm riding a Cervelo S5, I don't feel like it's going faster than the Factor. I'd say it's a toss-up. They don't really. I think it's really splitting hairs. And when it comes down to it, like I said, the Factor is 2 pounds light. My Factor is 2 pounds lighter than the Cervelo S5. And my Factor, I got the I can't even think of the wheels right now. The Princeton Carbons, the 4550s on there with the TR1 hubs. And you would think that the Cervelo S5 would be significantly faster than the Factor just because of like the seat tubes, the shape of the bike, and also with those 62 depth wheels on there. You would think it feels like lightning faster than the Factor, but to me, it doesn't feel faster. Not faster or slower. Like I said, it's a toss up. I think I was asked that question because I have both of those bikes, but one doesn't feel faster than the other. If someone said they wanted speed, which one should I get? I would say it doesn't matter. You can get either one and you'll be fine in speed. You're not losing anything, right? Now, the fourth question, right? Oh, this was a good question. This had me thinking right here. It said, would I trade my Cervelo S5 for a Tarmac SL8? So right now I don't have a desire to get another bike. I don't have a desire to get another bike, but the Tarmac SL8 is very, very dope. And one thing I would say, it'd have to be the configuration. If I had a Tarmac SL8, I want it to be the S-Works. I want the CLX2s, M50s, and I want the Roval cockpit. That's the configuration that I would want, right? Would I trade my Cervelo S5 for that? No, I personally would not. And I'm going to explain why. Is the Cervelo S5, in my opinion, that much better than the Tarmac? No, I'm not going to say that. For me specifically, the reason why I wouldn't make that trade is because I have a Factor Ostro VAM. That's why. To me, the Factor Ostro VAM and the Tarmac SL8 are more similar than the Factor in the Cervelo or the SL8 in the Cervelo. To me, the Factor and the Cervelo, two totally different bikes. The SL8 and the Cervelo, two totally different bikes. Now the Factor and the Tarmac, they're more similar, right? So for me specifically, for me to get rid of my Cervelo S5 and get the Tarmac is kind of similar to my Factor. And I've ridden the SL8. The SL8's dope, but one of the reasons I kind of wouldn't get one is because I have the Factor. If I didn't have the Factor Ostro VAM and I wanted a different bike, then I would consider trading my Cervelo S5 for the Tarmac because it's different bikes. And it's kind of, that's the best way I can explain it, right? Because when I talk to people and they're telling me like, why do you have so many different bikes, or specifically the type of bikes that I have, the best way I can explain it to them is all the bikes do something different. All my bikes do something different. The Allay, the Madone, the Factor, the S5, they all do something different and they all ride different. They all got their own specific set of characteristics. If any of those bikes were very similar to something I already have, then I would get rid of it because I don't want the same riding characteristics from the bike, right? So like I said, right now all my bikes are different, and the Cervelo S5 is very different from the SL8, and it's very different from the Factor, in my opinion. But the SL8 and the Factor are more similar, so I wouldn't want to get rid of my Cervelo S5 for a bike that's similar to something that I already have, right? And then, yeah, I think that's the best way I can explain it, right? And another thing that's very, very different about the Cervelo S5 is just it's the way it looks, man. It's the way it looks. The Cervelo S5 is a dope looking bike, man. And when I was searching for them, I was finding some in kind of like different colorways. And even before I got my Factor, I had found a Cervelo S5 frame set, and it was like it had like the red, no, it was red or blue. I forget what color it was in it, but it was kind of like the blue or the red one. And it was kind of dope, but it wasn't what I really, really wanted. The black joint is sexy, man. And I love the way my Cervelo looks with the tan wall tires. Now, when I first got the Cervelo, I had black tires on it, and I kind of think it looks better with the black tires. It looks more stealthy and it looks mean, man. And then with the big white Cervelo and the white bar tape, I think that's dope. So I might switch it back to black tires. I'm not really sure, but we just gonna have to see. But those are the questions that are pertaining to the Cervelo S5. People want to know, how much does my bike weigh? What is it like to ride the thing? Is it faster than the Factor Ostro VAM? And would I trade it for a Tarmac SL8? So that kind of answers the questions for that, right? And like I said, if you have questions that you want me to answer, drop them in the comments, man. If it sounds super, super interesting, hey, I'll just make a video about it, because I can do these talking head videos all day, just get on here and rub my mouth, man. But yeah, that's all I got for you, man. And like I said, if you were liking the content, please consider subscribing to the channel. This is your boy, Mr. Rob Armstrong. I'm out.